Indianapolis certainly has the best big man in the college game today. Let's salute the Army as well. That's where you'll find perhaps the nation's most productive little guy. We're talking about 5'11" Kevin Houston, who happens to lead the country right now in scoring at 31 points per game. West Point, New York, the United States Military Academy. Among the 4,400 training cadets, you'll find the unknown soldier.
First of all, of course, they've got to be a cadet, then a student in a tough academic arena, and then finally, it's so great to see a young fellow who does all that and then becomes #1 in the nation.
Leading the nation in scoring means this cadet gets many kudos.
It's definitely something a little bit new for me. I'm enjoying what's going on right now, and hopefully it will continue through the rest of the season.
For now, Houston is working hard at the rigorous academic standards at Army. But as he continues his magic on the court, this baby-faced senior looks beyond to yet another dream.
I think everyone in whatever sport they're playing has a dream of reaching a professional level. So I'm just looking forward to fulfilling my career, my 5 years in the Army first, before I look to anything like that.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't honor the Air Force Falcons of Coach Reggie Minton, the Falcons having their best season in 9 years.
Today, Army and Navy are meeting in basketball for the 65th time. Now, even if the game doesn't always have an impact on the national standings, it's always special. This year features two interesting players who show us why there is more to the game than just the score. They are at the same time so much alike, and yet so very different. Different from the crowd because college in the military means marching to the beat of a different drummer than most young men and women. Different from each other because while they are both standouts, one towers above the crowd at 7'1", while the other sometimes just seems to get lost in its midst at 5'11". There is, of course, the obvious difference of color. One wears gray and schools by the banks of the Hudson in upstate New York. The other wears blue and spends his days where the Chesapeake Bay meets the Severn River. They both represent service academies with similar goals and ideals, yet their two institutions sit so squarely on opposite sides of the competitive fence that Army-Navy is almost rivalry by definition, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, or USC and Notre Dame. They are both basketball players of extraordinary distinction, each responsible for the bulk of their team's scoring. But their games have different phone numbers. For Kevin Houston of Army, it's long distance. He has taken 96 three-pointers this season, made half of them, and otherwise thrives on the outside shot. He also leads the country in free throw percentage. Aside from a 42-foot desperation shot at the buzzer to beat James Madison, David Robinson of Navy has not attempted a single three-pointer this season. He prefers the local call. Much louder, same effect. One has gotten most of the attention, and his name is prominently mentioned in discussions of Player of the Year. However, many would be surprised to learn that it is the other who leads the country in scoring.
Well, I talked to Kevin a couple times off the court, and he's a nice guy, a real nice guy. I like him off the court. And on the court, I have a lot of respect for him. He makes tough shots. A lot of people take those tough shots with people on him, but he makes them, and that's what distinguishes him from other people.
Well, I don't have the greatest jumping ability or running ability, and I'm not the fastest or the quickest guy out there by any means. So I just try to think a couple of plays ahead and see things that are developing at the beginning of the game and then put them to use later on.
Soon both will be professionals. Houston a professional soldier, but Robinson is probably headed for professional basketball. Because he sprouted 6 inches after entering the academy and now stands 7'1", he is no longer fit for active duty. 2 years of restricted duty followed by 4 years in the reserves seem to open the NBA doors, and that's okay with Houston.
He happened to add a few inches to his body, and he's really developed into one of the better players in the nation. And with that, this opportunity came about, but it's nothing that I've looked at with sour grapes or any kind of bitterness towards him or anyone involved in the whole process.
To me, it's an opportunity to do something I enjoy and something that I can be the best at. So, some people search their entire lives and never find that.
Both Houston and Robinson were at their best today. In their final meeting as college opponents, the midshipmen came from behind to defeat the cadets of Army 58-52. And Frank, this was the final regular season collegiate game for both of these fine players.
Very unbiblical finish, however. Kevin Houston, 38 points, but the big man, David Robinson, the winner with the Navy. Be sure to join us tomorrow for a special 2-hour Sunday edition of ABC's Wide World of Sports. We'll be...
When the season opened, most figured the individual star would come from the Naval Academy. Well, we were right about one thing. A service academy has produced the scoring ace in the nation. But this guy works for the Army. CNN's Debbie Segura explains.
West Point was founded in 1802. Its tradition etched in stone, a living, working memorial to its elite graduates who have taken their place in history. You expect great leaders from this institution. You don't expect the leading scorer in the nation. At first glance, you might not be impressed with Kevin Houston. It's a common reaction, one shared initially by his coach.
There was a little red-headed, freckle-faced kid out in a group of over 100, and he did not stand out. And then he did go to our prep school, and I saw him play there, and then it was very obvious he was going to be a great player.
Coach Woodkey didn't make the same mistake others did. Kevin was overlooked at a high school and was not offered a single scholarship, not even from St. John's, where his father starred during the mid-'60s.
But, I mean, we blew the shit out of him. He would have been a very good player for us. But sometimes you blow something. He would have been a great addition. Plus, he's a great kid.
They're making out pretty good with what they have down there, and I'm making out okay with what I have here. But the decision I made, I'm very happy with.
As long as Houston's happy, Army's happy. He's averaging just over 31 points a game, scoring 46% of the team's total points. But before you think he's a ball hog, Kevin also leads the team in assists. He's dangerous from anywhere on the court, leads the nation in free throw percentage, and is deadly from outside. This was his game-winning three-pointer against Iona. We're more familiar with the nation's #2 scorer, another military man, Navy's David Robinson, considered the best all-round player in college, a possible #1 draft pick.
It's two different stories, really. You know, he's a 7'1" center, and I'm a 5'11" point guard, and you see more of his type in the NBA.
Robinson still faces the dilemma of mixing the NBA with his military obligation. Houston doesn't have that problem. While he leads the nation in scoring, it's not his automatic ticket to the pros. His size and team schedule are considered big strikes against him. It's a fact Kevin can accept for now.
I realized that my 5-year commitment was first, and the chances at a professional career after that were probably very limited. So it's nothing that I'm regretting or sour about in any way.
While Robinson and Houston don't share equal billing throughout the season, they will share the spotlight at least for one day, when Army visits Navy February 21st. From West Point, I'm Debbie Segura, CNN Sports.
Anything and just be with it.
Playing in the shadows of ball programs, but all that's changed in the last couple of years, with much of the credit going to David Robinson and Kevin Houston. The mention of Army and Navy usually conjures up thoughts of college football, but this year the two service academies are making their mark on the hardwood. At West Point, 5'11" Kevin Houston is the nation's leading scorer at 30 points a game. And in Annapolis, 7'1" David Robinson is generally considered to be college basketball's most dominating player. Both Robinson and Houston are closing out brilliant careers. Not only have they brought themselves a lot of recognition, their achievements have directed a lot of attention to the service academies in a sport other than football.
In my own case this year, and obviously in David Robinson's case as well, it's brought a lot of publicity to both of the schools, and I think that's been good for both basketball programs and the academies in general. It's been a very enjoyable experience playing 4 years at a military academy. I have no regrets about having been there. It's offered me the opportunity to do a lot of different things, both basketball related and not related to basketball, so it's been a lot of fun.
As a matter of fact, I think I got more of it because of the Navy and being in an unusual situation early, and I think that helped me a little bit, and it's gotten me a chance to play when I wasn't so good, and then develop and get better. So, you know, this was a great situation for me.
Robinson has spent the last 2 seasons at the top of the college basketball world. It hasn't been quite the same for Kevin Houston. On Saturday, Houston scored 38 points against Navy and made the folks in Annapolis stand up and take notice.
He's so tough. He makes the tough shots. I mean, a lot of people take those tough shots. But the thing that makes him great and everybody else just good is that he makes them all. And then he goes to the line, and what do you do? You can't foul him, so what do you just let him shoot? He has great body control, so he's always leaning in. And not enough to get the charge, but just enough to get that foul call.
There's little doubt that someday David Robinson will be in the NBA and will be one of the league's finest players. It probably won't be that way for Kevin Houston. Still, he doesn't rule out the possibility of giving the NBA a shot when his 5-year military commitment is up.
If the opportunity were there, I would at least give it a chance and see what could happen.
it's something that I'm a little bit hopeful for, but I'm realizing that it's probably not going to be for me.
Leading scorer in the nation, he averages 31.8 points a game.
Story of basketball.
Why?
He'd have a game the next day, and he'd be like, you know, walking on pins and needles. He didn't want anybody to bump into him. And so one night, you know, me and a couple of my friends just said, the heck with this. And so we went up there and we tackled him and grabbed him, ripped off all his clothes, and poured powder all over him and took him in the showers. And he was crying and screaming the whole way, I got a game tomorrow, I got a game tomorrow.
And he'll achieve a goal that demands the best a person can give, succeeding at West Point. He will also realize a dream, a vision shared by athletes who want to be the best. For most, this dream is only imagined. Fantasy games are played out in the recesses of an athlete's mind, where they reach perfection, breaking records and leading their team to victory. Growing up in the game, Kevin's dream was formed early.
I started playing basketball when I was about the 2nd or 3rd grade, I guess 7 or 8 years old, and my dad was one of the primary figures in getting me started playing.
Is Kevin's love of basketball inherited? His father, Jerry, played for St. John's in the 60s and held a basketball camp in White Plains for several years. And whenever Mr. Houston went to a game, Kevin wasn't far behind.
Tried to give him the best instruction I could and give him a lot of opportunities. I would take him to basketball games constantly. I coached in high school myself for 11 years, and I coached at Fordham University for a year. I would take him to high school games, I'd take him to college games, and I guess the biggest thing is I always tried to afford him an opportunity to play, to get him into a gym, to have him be with people that are interested in basketball, and he's taken great advantage of that. So I think it's just the opportunity, maybe maintain a low profile, and I guess as much as anything is to encourage. Because as with any youngster that's involved in basketball, you face a lot of disappointments. And, it's easy to get your head down and kind of quit, but I think that pat on the backside and, you know, a word of encouragement and a word of criticism when it was necessary too, but I guess the main thing is encouraging and helping along.
On January 7th, 1987, Kevin Houston became basketball's top college scorer. He played his first game for Army on November 23, 1983. He has never missed a start. In a tall man's game, Kevin's smaller size and low-keyed approach fools his opponents. He doesn't seem a threat, but during a game, if you watch his eyes, you can almost see his mind working, eyes darting, deliberate, confident. When he sees an opening, he moves aggressively and with deadly precision.
Kevin's style of play, I think, is a result of a fact that he uses his head all of the time on the court. He's constantly thinking, and I think he's a Larry Bird type player in that he's several plays ahead of the game, and he seems to be able to get in the defensive man's mind and anticipate what the defense is going to do and react before they do. So he's a thinking man player.
I'm just trying to, you know, take a look at each situation, maybe get a couple of situations ahead of people, and just look for various things that I see might be helpful to me later on. You know, take advantage of something that people are trying to do to me, but are missing something else, you know, make them pay for it later on, maybe not right as it's happening. But I like to just tuck a lot of things away in the back of my mind that are going on during the game and try to use it to my advantage later on. I'm called a mental player. I guess it's kind of hard to talk about. A lot of my game comes from thinking. I've heard Coach say it before, 90% of my game is thinking, you know, up in my head what's going on. I'm not as blessed as a lot of other athletes with speed, quickness, or jumping ability or strength. So I just try to use my smarts as much as I can and, you know, just try to get people off balance, thinking I'm going to do something that I really am. I guess just looking ahead and, like I said before, trying to get inside a defensive player's mind. Never thought I could be where I am right now in terms of scoring the points I'm scoring or getting a lot of the media attention I have been getting. I always thought that I could do well at this level of basketball and be successful at it.
Kevin hasn't exactly gone unnoticed here at West Point, but the attention heaped on him by the media since he took the top scorer spot has been tremendous.
It's just been wonderful. Kevin, as you know, he's kind of modest and he handles it all so very well. I couldn't be happier, I couldn't be prouder, and I speak for my whole family when I say that. We're just so happy for him.
Obviously, that kind of publicity, when it gets on the national scene, is good for the institution. Another angle on that is what is the effect here at home? And one of the things that happened here in my class early in the semester is that I made an observation to the students early in the semester that Kevin was, in fact, the #1 scorer, and the class spontaneously applauded that. I think they have a great deal of respect for Kevin in terms of what he's achieved, but more importantly, how he handles it.
The media attention on Kevin Houston has been amazing the past 10 days to 2 weeks. And I think at first it kind of got to Kevin, the fact that everyone was calling and coming in to see him play, and I think it put some added pressure on him. But right now he's become an old pro at that, just like he has at everything else, and he's accepting the pressure and the notoriety and the national publicity that's come with being the leading scorer in the country and either #1 or #2 in free throw shooting. So Kevin Houston can handle it.
I think it's great. I mean, our whole family were on cloud 9 with it all, and just thinking he must be just as well, but we're all just so happy for him. We think it's great.
It's kind of given us a chance to feel a little bit pride in ourselves, knowing that, hey, we can play with some of the best players in the country, and it's helped to boost our morale and to keep us going during the hard times, because before all the notoriety, I guess we were about 2-7, and since then we've jumped to 6-8. So it's helped us a lot. And I think we will continue to improve.
Exciting, you know, I'm not known as Liz Kuchar anymore. Everyone's asking me about Kevin, how's he doing?
When Kevin sets out to do something, you can rely on it's getting done. It's not so much that things come easy to him. His successes are a result of his commitment and determination to follow through on things.
Academics, but I give him a lot of credit for that because he gets a lot of peer pressure from his friends, me mostly, to go watch some TV at night or just joke around and have a good time. But he always finds time to study, even if we're watching TV, watching a game on TV or some show, he'll bring his book down and be highlighting something. And to me, that's pretty impressive because I can't do it, even if I tried. And he's able to work hard, knowing that he has to work hard and get the grades, and he's really improved academically.
For a basketball player, the exhilarating thrill of seeing a shot arch up and fall through the hoop is not easily matched. But Kevin Houston's future promises a different kind of excitement. He'll become the leader he's been trained to be and will fulfill new dreams off the court. He'll be facing other challenges as an officer in the United States Army.
Rebound, blocked by Payne, and the ball comes down to Blackwell. Still loose on the floor. 8 seconds left. Kevin Houston, got it! And a three-pointer.
The Army as well. That's where you'll find perhaps the nation's most productive little guy. We're talking about 5'11" Kevin Houston, who happens to lead the country right now in scoring at 31 points per game. West Point, New York, the United States Military Academy. Among the 4,400 training cadets, you'll find the unknown soldier.
First of all, of course, they've got to be a cadet, then a student in a tough academic arena. And then finally, it's so great to see a young fellow who does all that and then becomes #1 in the nation.
Leading the nation in scoring means this cadet gets many kudos.
It's definitely something a little bit new for me. I'm enjoying what's going on right now, and hopefully it will continue through the rest of the season.
For now, Houston is working hard at the rigorous academic standards at Army. But as he continues his magic on the court, this baby-faced senior looks beyond to yet another dream.
I think everyone in whatever sport they're playing has a dream of reaching a professional level. So I'm just looking forward to fulfilling my career, my 5 years in the Army first, before I look to anything like that.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't honor the Air Force Falcons of Coach Reggie Minton, the Falcons having their best season in 9 years.